And judges, are you okay? We can take one more minute. Other two judges, are you okay? Okay, awesome.
Good.
So Soul Solutions, good luck. Make sure you have enough time for feedback from the judges. I'm going to cut you off at 3:28.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much. Good afternoon, everyone. We are Soul Solutions, the anti-slip spike covers for track and field athletes everywhere. My name is Cameron Gorski. I'm a marketing and entrepreneurship major.
Hi, my name is Daniel Madgen. I'm an organizational leadership major.
My name is Daniel Ray. I'm an engineering education major. So I ran track and field for the past 10 years of my life, including running for the Purdue track and field team. I'm quite a hurdler. One problem that I ran into a lot was when I would be ready for my race. I'd be getting ready. I'd put my spikes on. I'd put these guys on my feet. And I would get the pre-race pee. It was actually kind of comical when we would say the pre-race pee because everybody knew what it was. So as soon as you put your spikes on, you're ready to go. You just have an adrenaline rush and you got to go to the bathroom. The only problem is when I go over to use the bathroom, I would go from rubber surface to concrete to epoxy floors of the bathroom. Or if I would need to go get my number to stick on my side from my bag on the aluminum bleachers, I would waddle up the bleachers and be kind of sketched because I'd be walking on my heels and slipping around. So this is a problem I've experienced a lot. And it didn't take long for us to validate that it is a problem with other athletes. I've been around this a lot and I got to talk to a lot of my old teammates or other track athletes. They very much validated it. So our business hypothesis was that these track and field athletes would be willing to purchase a little cover to put on their spike so that they could go to the bathroom without having to worry about taking off their spikes or slipping around or doing the duck walk or the heel walk that every track athlete knows.
So looking at our business model canvas here, let's start to narrow in on our value proposition. So our initial value proposition was for the individual track athlete themselves. As you can see, we would be providing durable shoe covers that were made with non-slip technology and spike protection that would ensure athletic safety from transitioning between point A to point B, and they would also prevent from spike degradation. So
there was a big pivot point though, because once we started to dig in, we started seeing a common theme. And one of the interviews that we did with a Purdue track athlete, it was very eye-opening. And this was kind of a pivot point for us. The main theme of what she said was the problem is a convenience problem. And it's not simply a walking across surfaces with your spikes or wearing out your spikes. She said, I don't want to think about things that interfere with the demand for my time. I hate having to worry about taking off sweats right before a race. If I have to worry about taking them off, it's a pain. So from that, we started to realize that if we created a little slip cover for their spikes, we'd just be adding another thing for them to keep track of, like sweatpants. And we decided, okay, well, we know that 3 other companies have already tried to solve this problem, but they haven't done it well. We have not seen widespread penetration in track and field. And we see a big gap in the market because it's a convenience problem, because the problem needs to be solved and people want it to be solved, but they don't want it to be solved by carrying around a cover to put on their spikes.
So with this information, we decided to pivot into our final value proposition, which is our main customer would be mainly focused on Indiana high schools, track facilities, and sports complexes. So what we would do here is we would sell to the customer, the Indiana high schools, track and field facilities. We would sell these dispensers along with the shoe covers, which would then provide the end user, the track and field athlete, value, as well as the customer, our schools. So they would provide the value to the end user in the form of a service. So our 3 most powerful insights, as you can see here, one of the high school athletic directors we had interviewed, he says he always hates being the bad guy. And when athletes are transitioning, especially cleated athletes from point A to point B, he doesn't want his fours damaged, and this costs him money. And I believe through our research, we had asked him, and it actually costs them $10,000 every year to sand and reseal blemishes in the floor. And so he loved this idea, and he says, we could easily implement this at our school. If you guys commercialize, let us know. And the high school athletic director, trainer, and physical therapist, they liked the idea as well. And they said, we can recall a time where even this occurred for softball athletes. A young woman was transitioning from the field to the dugout. She slipped, fell, and broke her tailbone. And with athletics and athletic facilities really caring about their athletes, he said, Soul Solutions could definitely tackle this issue everywhere, not just athletics. So here we have a perfect example of our expandable business model, hence our name, Soul Solutions.
And we were really, really excited about our expandable business model because we at first decided to focus on track and field and Purdue track and field because that's what we had most access to. I had a lot of people that I could communicate with and get their feedback on our product. But we also saw between 4 or 5 interviews between us, a reoccurring theme of this being a problem in baseball and softball. Because in baseball and softball, most manufacturers of their cleats, they wear out. That's not a problem we see in track because the track spikes are removable and replaceable. But for baseball and softball, they wear out. And the reason why they wear out so much is because if a softball player, a baseball player is going from the dugout to the concrete to the car or to the bathroom, they're walking on concrete for quite a long time. And their non-removable spikes, they wear down into little nubs. So much so that when I was interviewing Sam, who is the Purdue equipment manager for baseball and softball, she said she's been playing for quite a long time and she's had to replace on average 3 pairs per travel season. And that was really shocking to me. I didn't realize it was a big problem in another area. So we decided that we were going to create an expandable business model. We were going to start in track and field and penetrate the market, but then we would slowly shift into baseball and softball and include that. And we have our Soul Solution 1, which is a smaller cover for a track spike. And we also have a full length prototype for a baseball and softball cleat.
So taking a look here, let's take a look at our customer segments. So our initial customer segment assumptions were that our end user would actually be the track and field athlete themselves, and our customer would be the high school track and field coaches, as well as athletic directors and athletic booster clubs. This assumption was validated through our customer discovery. So in indoor track and field facilities, high schools, as well as high school track and field facilities. So let's take a look at our customer relationships. So our initial customer relationship assumptions would be that we would be sponsoring track and field clubs. We would provide online support and customer service, and we would find endorsements. So through this discovery, we actually realized that we could sponsor track and field and community involvement giveaways. We would also include a 5-year dispenser warranty and with the option of installation and maintenance, and we would still provide that online support and customer service. Now I'll hand it off to Cameron.
Thanks, Daniel. We're going to talk briefly about the channels now. So initially, like we were saying earlier, we wanted to kind of be like all the other companies that were trying to get into the spike cover business, which would be B2C, going through Amazon, trying to get into like a Dick's Sporting Goods. However, after we figured out that that wasn't the ideal route to go, we wanted to go with the more B2B route, selling directly to school boards, athletic directors, athletic trainers, the ones who have the buying power for the athletes themselves so that they can be provided as a service rather than something that the athlete would then go online and buy themselves. We also validated why we also wanted to keep hosting track events, have a company website and a social media presence to just kind of get our name out around to other schools and school districts outside of Indiana. And now taking a quick look at our cost structure, we first wanted to outsource all of our production to a rubber company. We thought using recycled rubber is a great way for us to, do our part in giving back to the environment. And so after speaking with 5 different rubber companies, we found that actually outsourcing just the recycled sheets of rubber would be a lot more inexpensive for us. And we can just do in-house manufacturing. We also wanted to set some money aside for marketing and advertising, the marketing operation or manufacturing operations rather, digital infrastructure. We needed to rent a manufacturing space, partner fees, as well as R&D. And those were all validated through our interviews that we had. And then here's just a quick look at actually how much it does cost to produce our product. We have rubber, cardboard, CA glue, and elastic bands, which total about 87 cents to produce one pair of our Soul Solution ones. And taking a look at our revenue streams, initially we wanted to do the premium memberships with the reduced cost for repeat customers, as well as the individual spike cover sales. But since we switched to the B2B model, we are going to be having subscriptions with these in partnerships with these schools, where we would send them a certain amount of pairs per month for a fee, as well as giving them the opportunity to have spike cover refills. So say a school has a big track event and they would want to have a lot more of these out for all the different schools coming in, they'd be able to purchase more of them through us, as well as having machine maintenance and service installations with the fixed production fee for the dispensers.
So now let's take a look at our key partners. So our key partners would indeed stay the same. As you can see, school boards and high schools, as well as the National Track and Field League. We also, as Cameron also mentioned, recycling and waste companies, and Global Sports Foundation for underfunded youth sports leagues. And in terms of key activities, our key activities would also stay the same. We have a very strong value proposition. We're experienced in CAD design, and we're also, in terms of test of spike and common surface breakdown, that involves R&D. So now let's take a look at our key resources, and I'll hand it off to Dana.
Thanks, Daniel. So an initial assumption that we had was that we would use the durable and reusable covers, because we wanted to be environment conscious, and we thought that these athletes would like these personable items to keep track, carry around of. But as I mentioned earlier, that assumption was dashed because we talked to several people and it was an inconvenience problem. So they didn't want to have to carry it around. So instead, what we shifted to was creating a disposable one-time use cover in the location exactly where the athlete would need it when they need it. So at the transition point between our rubber surface and our concrete surface, we would include a dispenser that would automatically put the cover on the shoe, and then the person could walk to the bathroom or get a drink, and then they'd walk back to that same position. And experience through track and field has led me to believe that oftentimes athletes will re-enter the exact same place. They can scrape off those covers. And there could be multiple points around the track that this is included to protect athletes and protect facilities as well. And we wanted to have a little bit of planned obsolescence. So in the long run, our business model, we would like to, once we have exposure to the market, we'd like to start selling personalized items and start creating those items or those slip covers for the athletes to use and to hold on to as a sort of a fashion statement. So that's later down the road, but we didn't really want them keeping these items because that's what we produced and we worked hard to. But we made sure that we're adding value in it because we're purchasing recycled materials and we're creating a demand for those materials that would normally be gone to landfills or whatnot. So we wanted to keep the environment in mind while also solving this problem well. So there is our final business model, our business model canvas, and based on all the research we've done, our final business hypothesis is as follows: schools and athletic venues with a track suffer from premature wear on non-track surfaces due to spike wear. Athlete safety and comfort is also compromised during surface transitions. So it was validated that these facilities do spend money on replacing the floors, and also that it would be a value to provide safety for the athletes that would be wearing these. And we figured out that school booster clubs, or this is our assumption at the end of our interviews, that the school booster clubs and the athletic directors and coaches would purchase our Soul Solution. And here's an image of our customer informed solution. We actually did prototype with these. I'd say these are mid-fidelity prototypes, and they are very functional. I wore them for the whole presentation for a class for the same model. And there's the dispenser, as you can see, and it's designed to hang easily on trash cans so that there is easy disposable within arm's reach once the athlete is done. So they don't have to worry about taking off the sweats or whatnot. So there's our solution. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
All right, nice job, guys. I have 4 boys, and one of mine right now, football. I had to replace my son. He's a lineman at Cathedral High School.
Oh, wow.
I had to replace. I actually had to buy him completely new shoes because I could not get replacement studs for his cleats.
Mm.
I don't know if it's just, supply chain issues this year, but I get the track thing. And I know that's a danger in terms of, them walking on the metal, spikes and everything. But football for me was a huge, as a mom, and I'm the one that's going to buy the equipment, right? I mean, I'm buying my kids' equipment, generally not dad. I would be very interested in those because my kid went through 3 pairs of shoes because he wore down his cleats, because like from their practice field into the locker room, the kids all just walk through the parking lot. And so, and I think there's probably more, like I know at Cathedral, there's 150 kids playing football, between the 3 teams, or probably even more than that. So I would expand maybe and not just focus on track. I mean, go where the pain is. I mean, I had to buy my kid because, like I said, because I could not get spike replacements this last season for his particular Nike shoe. I mean, I spent $400 on cleats in 1 season.
Yeah.
So I have a major pain point for that. So I like that. And in terms of the consumer too, I like that you guys are kind of looking more at, the B2B, because it would be, like at my kids' school, like they get those practice packs at the beginning of the year. The emails go out to the moms. Again, we're the ones who buy it. That, hey, the practice pack is ready. Here's the mouthpiece, here's the jersey, here's the bag, everything is in the practice pack. And it indicates which ones are optional for me to buy and which ones are required for me to buy. And that's how we do it at the beginning of every season. And I spend hundreds of dollars on my kids' practice gear for the season. So I think I like your B2B in terms of that consumer type and getting the buy-in from the schools. Because a lot of times I think, the kids are like, oh, I'm just going to run across the parking lot and I'm going to go through the cafeteria real quick, So I think it's going to be more the schools enforcing that you have to use them. And then moms like, put them on because I'm not buying you another pair of cleats.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for your feedback. That's really awesome. That's why we're so excited for our expandable business model, because we've been noticing from parents, we've been noticing from athletic directors and end users. Like we see that again and again. People are like, oh yeah, I hate walking on concrete with my spikes or my cleats because I know that they're wearing down. So we're really excited because we have planned that into the business model. And I actually have the first, I guess this will be the second iteration of the full solution, where you have the dispenser that can pull this up and then put the little elastic on the front and the back side of it. So it's pretty low fidelity, but we have definitely tested it out and we've experimented with it to see design features that we'd like.
Yeah. And I think if you can make them look cool too, because like your end, especially if you're trying to get 15, 16-year-olds to wear these, and they got to look, they got to look cool for me to be motivated, because there's a balance between I'm a, 15, 16-year-old kid and I can just make the run for it across the concrete or whatever, versus if you can make them look cool, like I'm kind of spatting my shoes,
Right.
Kids like to spat their shoes.
Yeah. And through our conversations with the rubber suppliers and our extensive research in recycled rubber, we realized that you can actually, from those rubber slabs that we had received from them, they can actually dye them as well as put school logos on them.
Yeah.
So school colors, you could dye rubber. So it is definitely a possibility. And in terms of your comment earlier about starting with football or just having an expandable business model, the reason we started with track and field is because that's the market we know best. And so if we were to penetrate that, I mean, Danon, he knows Olympic athletes who have said, we will support your product. Like if you tell us and we'll do that for you. So
Yeah.
those endorsements and that knowledge of that market is invaluable for us. So if we're to expand, we start with that market and move forward.
Yeah, and I think talk to like who's your, there's a difference between like sometimes who uses it versus who buys it, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I get, like the upper level athletes, they're doing it intentional because they think I'm protecting myself, I don't want to slip and fall. And they're thinking about it from that perspective. Then you got your high
Mhm.
school kids, they're like, So when you're at the high school level, I think maybe your consumer is, or your pain point person is more like the moms, because they're tired of buying.
Yeah.
Like I said, I spent $400 on shoes I didn't need to spend $400 on. And then the athletic directors and stuff, or the coaches, no, you will put these on because
Yep.
you're not gonna, I don't want my star lineman on his butt in the parking lot. And I don't want my locker rooms or my cafeterias torn up. So I think it shifts a little bit when you hit that
Right.
high school model versus I'm
Yeah.
more the professional, collegiate, professional athlete. I feel like you might have two consumer bases there that are driving those purchasing decisions that are
Right.
not
Mhm.
the same at the two different levels.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think that's why we wanted to start at the high school level, just because we had a lot of direct contacts into the high school, and we really wanted it kind of just like a mask, right?
Yeah.
No one, you wouldn't go out of your way and go to a store to buy this, but
Yeah.
if someone gave it to you and said you have to wear this, people are going to
Mhm.
follow the rules, especially if it's from moms and
The
coaches.
moms
Like,
clubs. Oh my God, you get
oh
into
yeah,
the moms clubs because
oh yeah,
they rule the roost, right?
oh yeah. You don't
Booster clubs
you
too.
don't mess with
Yeah.
the moms. You don't mess with moms. They're the best.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for your feedback.
Thank you.
Hey guys, good job presenting. I guess quick question. So I played soccer in high school, and we had to take our shoes off like when we moved away from the pitch, right? And like with your product as well, there's some form of contact of your hand, like either putting the elastic on top or like removing it. So I guess like why would people just not remove their shoe? I mean, I'm not talking about like the high schoolers. I mean, they're probably harder to, make them understand. But like why won't you just remove your shoes, and like maybe wear slippers, or like maybe have like a small slipper dispenser, like those very thin ones that you get in a hotel or whatever, and then use that versus having something that sticks onto your shoe. Like I just want to understand like your thought process and what do you guys think about that?
Yeah,
I can take this one first and then I'll
Yeah, you
pass it
got
on
it.
to you. So I was also a soccer player myself growing up. I did the same thing. I would take off my shoes before I got to once I got to the pitch, I would put them on. And then once the game was done, I would take them off. So we mainly wanted to focus with track and field athletes first, simply because they have the pre-race Ps, or they need to go from point A to point B efficiently and conveniently. And compared to a soccer player who's go for an hour and a half almost, and we mainly wanted to focus on track and field or sports like that who are transitioning between different surfaces compared to soccer, mainly who we might eventually expand to, but we didn't mention them simply because they will have their cleats on for an extended amount of time when track and field athletes need them for one simple purpose for a certain amount of time. That makes sense. Danny, you could add to that.
Yeah, that's a valid question, Arpan. And what our business model entails is the initial, like where we are at with the actual prototype, we do not have the dispenser that automatically puts it on a foot, but we've studied quite a lot and done a lot of research, and we've been inspired to have it automatically put on and off the shoe. Have you ever seen those little plastic slip covers that they use for like construction sites, not to like carry over?
Yep.
Yes, so that is an inspiration for the dispenser model, where we just stick our feet in, like if you were a soccer player, and eventually, like if things go well, we can't plan on the future, so we don't know for sure, but we would like to expand into the soccer market because there is pain in there, as you have said. We would like to just be able to put our cleat into the dispenser and it straps it on, and we don't have to touch. And then when we go back to that same spot and want to take it off, there's a little tab where you can step on with your opposite foot and pull it off, just like you try to take shortcuts by taking off your shoes without using your hands. Similarly to that, that was one of the design features that we were considering during our prototyping. So does that answer your question, Mal?
Got it. I guess like the question is like, why would I not just keep like, remove my shoes and like wear slippers or like wear some other
Yeah.
like normal shoes or whatever
Sure.
versus like putting this, rubber piece on my shoe, which might also spoil. I don't know, like if the rubber sticks, especially like if it's a hot day, if the rubber sticks to your cleat, like to the spike itself, that's like even spoiling your spike. So just wanted to get a sense of like, have you thought about that?
Yeah, we have. So for the first thing, the way that ours is designed, we actually have a disposable piece of cardboard on the top for the cleat to sink into. So it's almost like a foam for the spike. So if that answers that one question. And then the other question is, we did research and we did find out that athletes oftentimes didn't want to keep wearing their cleats or their spikes. So when they got the opportunity to take it off and wear something comfortable like spike or like slides, because I was a soccer player too, I knew how that worked. I just put my slides on. But instead it would be for simple instances like if you had to go to the bathroom and your facility has an area of concrete where you have to go there really quickly and come back. So in that
Bringing in your
instance,
bag.
yeah, so in that instance, it would be for those short term, not the I'm going to go to my car and drive home, or my parents are going to pick me up. I want slides to be comfortable in.
Got it. Cool. And just like one small thing, doesn't affect this, but like when you guys are presenting, you guys are all looking sharp. You guys all did present well, but like don't jump like presenting back and forth. Like if one person finishes, just go to the next one. Otherwise, it just becomes harder to follow in real life. Like it's something that I did as well with my team. And then I think like just as you guys present more places, just keep that in mind.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll butt in with one quick question at the end. On this sort of gets at one, the sales process, and two, defensibility. I think high school, secondary education in general is like a hard thing to sell into because it's not just about building the right product and marketing and putting it on Google Ads or whatever. You have to know the right people. You have to go through, and there's usually a process. It's seasonal, so that's even harder. You have to sell at the right time of the year to get into the next season of get on the catalog or the list of equipment or whatever. And so I'm curious what you guys have found on what the sales process and sales cycle looks like there. And then also what your thoughts are on defensibility. Like, how do you make sure that a competitor comes along and can't take this idea and sell it back to the same people because they have, friends higher up in the chain or something?
Yeah, that's a really good question. You guys cool if I take it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So there is defensibility, one, with our product. We'd like to file a patent for our dispenser because in essence, these are very simple. And we would eventually file a patent for the design of the reusable cover that we would eventually like to produce and sell. But we would mostly like to patent the dispenser because the real value that we're adding is it's where you need it and when you need it. So that patent and that mechanism, that design, that's what we would be defending our product or our money. And then on the other hand, you said with how does the selling look like? We could do it two ways. We could either do it to coaches or facility managers or athletic directors that see that pain point and see the floor degradation, and that would provide value in the way of saving money for them in the long run, that $10,000 per year. And then two, there's a company called Ritchie Athletics. I don't know if you've heard of them. It's kind of like a Midwest like track and field company, and they're growing quite a lot. They produce things like long jump mats, high jump mats, anything with, I just said long jump mats, not long jump mats, I apologize. Long jump covers or high jump mats or pole vault cover or mats and covers. They produce a lot of track and field equipment. So one of our ideas was present this idea to Ritchie because they already have a customer base. They already have frequent visitors to their website and coaches know the name. It's a household name. For us to then sell our patent or have a utility patent or so that they could use our patent and sell it.
So
as well.
I do have to cut you off.
Okay.
That was
If
great.
you
Thanks.
need to check anything in the chat with each other to continue your conversation, you can. But we have to get ready for Scribble. If